Hi guys, this is Charlie Barley coming back at you with another video. This video is 7 things that will destroy roulette players. Now I was going to do this video for my mentor classes or group, but I think this video is very valid for those who are not a part of the mentorship program because the very same things apply whether you are a roulette player, a basketball player, pro player, any type of player where there's money being exchanged, you are a player. Never mistake that. You are a player in the game of capitalism. How you best understand the game and understand the risk associated with it, understand how to manipulate time and money at the same time is going to be determined how best you win at the game. It's not always about fast movement. I often tell my students that if you play hockey, there's people making millions of dollars only to score one puck. Okay, so you've got to change the way you see life and the way you see the world and understand it's not about a bunch of work. It's not about a bunch of effort. It's about a bunch of thought and strategic play. So I'm going to talk about 7 things that will destroy roulette players. Speaking of the mentorship program, as I mentioned to you guys before, I am going to be ending it soon. No, not everybody that comes aboard it is not 100% thing that everybody who comes in it does very well. It's not, because it really is a mentality that you have to have. There are certain people who excel immensely. And I have a video that I'm going to be showing with one of my students who actually recorded 30 days straight being consistent. And we're going to show all of that in the next week or so. And I'm also going to be talking to you all about the next phase, what I'm going to be doing next and after the mentorship program. But to say the least, if you do follow the instructions and you are diligent and you are consistent and you do not do these 7 things, trust me, I have a number of students who I'm going to be interviewing soon too anyway, who have reached the 90+ day mark and are doing extremely well. Because there's just certain things that you have to know in order to beat the game. And a lot of the issues that destroy people is not the strategy, it's themselves. And I'm going to talk about those 7 things. So let's go with number 1. Number 1, having a complete understanding of the game. Well, not having a complete understanding of the game. There's a big difference between strategy and a system of winning. The reason why you need to have knowledge of the game is because anything that you do, you need to be the most knowledgeable at it. I was looking at an interview with Mark Cuban, and Mark Cuban was talking about what makes people successful. Like when you think about it, most businesses fail. 83% of businesses fail within 4 to 10 years. I mean, I'd much rather fail in 4 days than 4 years, but if that's the case, it is the case. But why do they fail? It's because they do not know enough of what they're doing. They don't understand their business, their products, their services, the technology, the environment, the location. There are so many factors in businesses that people do not understand that causes them to fail. Well, in the game of roulette, it's the variables that can cause you to fail are a lot smaller. But why is it that people fail? Is because they are gambling. Gambling is not necessarily you wasting money. It's you wasting brain cells. It's you not really thinking about what it is that you're doing, and you're putting money up. All right. I often tell people to go and try and break it. If you can break it, then you'll learn a whole lot more trying to discredit and break it, particularly when you're talking about any sort of game. Try to figure out every single angle. So having a complete understanding of the game is very, very vital. Here is why people who don't have an understanding of the game, what they generally do, they seek out a single play strategy, the X and O, the cookie cut, or the plug and play strategy, where there's really only one thing to think about. And they never adjust to the game. I just recently did a video talking about adjusting to the game. It's just like playing football and you never expect to get hit. You never expect to get an interception. But when it does happen, instead of adjusting, you're continuing to run the same play you did previously. People literally play the game that way. The only reason that they do that is because, there's a number of reasons, but when you do that, you ultimately find yourself in a failed state because the game changes. And if you don't adjust to the game, you're going to fail. The difference between a system and a strategy is that a single play strategy, though it may work, it works just like football though. If it's 3rd and 10, it's not time to run the same running play you've been running for the last 3 quarters. Most people, when they play the game of roulette, they only have 1 or 2 strategies, of which they do not understand how those strategies mingle in terms of the understanding of the game. Now, when you truly understand the game, you understand the nuance of the game, the pattern of the game, and the variables that create the patterns that causes people to win and win consistently. No, you do not win every single time you play, meaning every single hand. It's just impossible. Otherwise, it wouldn't even be a game. If you could win every hand or every 2 hands or every 3, it wouldn't even be a game, right? So the ultimate goal is to defeat the game is to understand the limited variables of the game. If you do not understand that and understand how to delineate the what I call the high interest points of the game, only playing within those high interest points to be most dominant, and even studying the game enough to know that even when you lose, the game has to change because the game is limited in variables and they create permutations. These permutations create patterns. These patterns are very consistent because the game has limited variables to create such patterns. When you truly get that part, and you can get that just through study. But when you truly get that, then you can start developing a system of play to adjust according to that. Well, that's the whole point of the mentorship program. But if you study this enough, you can decipher and learn it actually for yourself. All right. Number 2, playing the game through emotions. When you have emotions, a lot of times people have emotions when they're playing because they don't know what's going to come next. And maybe they're on the losing, they've lost a few spins. They don't know what's going to come next. So they start playing with emotions. They start doing progressions. You start doing all these other different things because you don't truly have the knowledge of the game, right? So if you lost 2 or 3 right now, depending on how you're playing it, if you lost 2 or 3, particularly my students, if you're doing flat bet, let's say you lost 2 or 3, whatever you lost to, so as long as you're playing this correctly, the game has to change. All right. So in knowing that the game will not produce the same results over, even if it did, if you would adjust, you would just simply be winning. But the game is going to change because nothing ever about the game of roulette or life period ever stays the same. So if you're not adjusting, then guess what? It's just like driving a car to work. If there's a dead end or if the lane is merging to the right, but you're staying to the left, why don't you expect an accident? Why don't you expect to be in the ditch? And then why is it that you're crying about it when you never adjusted? But that comes with practice, all right? So emotions creep in when you have a lack of knowledge, when you have a lack of confidence in exactly what it is that you're doing, all right? So when you're playing a game, knowing that a game is called back and forth, right? You ever went to a game and it was a blowout? Let's say you went to a baseball game or a football game. I like football. I used to play football. So in football, imagine playing a game where the offense lined up and the defense lined up, but then the defense never moved and the offense just scored every time they got on. No one would play a game that way. No one, you wouldn't even go to see a game like that because it's not a game, right? So in the business world, it works the same way. Not every customer that walks through Walmart buys a product. It's a part of the anomaly. It's the reason why they stay open 24/7 because they're using time to lower the risk of cost because of the volume that does come through. By opening it up 24/7, you gain more access to more people. You delineate the cost by creating more sales, but you do it through time. Patience is a part of it. But you don't get emotional because for the first 2 hours, no customers came through the door. You wouldn't even be in business, right? But that's one of the reasons why people have jobs, because they don't want to think through that. They'd much rather go to work knowing that there's a check at the end of the day because they don't want to think about the fact that just because sales didn't happen this hour doesn't mean it's not going to happen for the rest of the year or the rest of the day for that matter. All right. In a limited variable game, whatever you lose to, you will win to. So as long as you have the patience, because it's limited. If you don't understand what that means, you truly don't understand the game at all. If you don't understand limited variables that create patterns within the game, whether they're done through the numbers or the colors, you do not understand the game. You're bound to be a failure for the rest of your life. And I'm just keeping it 100 with you. Keep it real. All right. So let's playing through emotions. Yeah, it's only because you have a lack of knowledge and you need to really get that under control. Next thing is overplaying the game. Well, the thing about having knowledge is that you can overplay it. One of the reasons why I have a limited goal for our students, and the reason that we do things over time is because there's a lot of dangers in overplaying. When you overplay, not only do you take higher risk for yourself, but you take higher risk in your abilities to continue to play. No one's going to let you continue to dog out the game. I've had students who've already been banned from casinos because once they truly learned it, they learned it really well, and then they went out and destroyed themselves. Overplaying the game has hazards. Now, here's the thing about a game. Most games have time limits. You should too. There's a reason why there are 4 quarters in basketball. It's the reason why there's 4 quarters in baseball. Imagine the game being over when the team won, but they continue to line up on the field to play. It looks stupid. It runs way too much risk that's unwarranted and unnecessary and could lead to injury that could cause you to end the season because you're overplaying. The cool thing about roulette is that you are the referee, literally. You can call the game when you want to. Keep this in mind. People make $1 million a year off of a single puck or goal in soccer. 2 or 3 points makes people millions. Keep that in the back of your head. The speed of time and money is way too fast. That's another thing. I was talking to a friend about the greatest sales lead ever. If you think about roulette in terms of a sales lead, particularly on a 50-50 flat bet where you have a 50-50 chance of winning any singular bet, no matter if you have a strategy or not, right? 50-50 shot. Well, if you think about a sales lead, people buy sales leads, and these sales leads have less than maybe even 3% chance at converting. I look at a spin on roulette as a conversionary sales lead that has a 50-50 chance of converting. How many salespeople would buy leads that have 50-50 chances of converting? Raise your hand. Well, that's the game of roulette. The game of roulette has a 50-50 chance sales lead of converting. Here's the problem. They come too quick. The speed upon which they come is between 45 seconds and just depends on the dealer up to 1.5 minutes, right? Because they come so quickly, it's the reason why you have to manage it. It's the same way that if you pay a lot for leads, right? You pay a lot for leads. Well, you're going to have to spend the time to go through the leads because not all the leads are going to buy. Most aren't, actually. But even if you got really good ones, you're going to have to take the time to go through them, right? You're going to have to take the time because there's too much. Well, in the game of roulette, when you have a sales lead that converts that high and comes every 45 seconds, in the business world, you would have to pay hundreds and thousands of dollars to have leads that good because it's way too much. But when you're trying to play this every single spin, it's like trying to convert every single lead that comes through that has a 50-50 shot. It sounds good until half of the leads don't convert. And the cost that you pay is not worth it anymore, and you end up losing. So when you understand that the speed upon which these leads come, the way you have to slow it down is doing this thing what we call permutations. because the permutation or the pattern upon which they come changes, right? But they're limited. So because they come every 45 seconds, even though you have a 50-50 chance, to delineate that risk, you have to figure out what's the least path of resistance. You have to figure out what are the limitations of the patterns and what are the frequencies of the patterns. When you understand that, you could delineate your losses. But you would not go pay hundreds and thousands of dollars for 50% leads that move every 45 seconds. You don't have that kind of money. So why do they offer this option in the game of roulette? Because it moves at 45 seconds. It's way too fast. And because it comes so fast, right? If you don't have the discipline, you're going to be making bad choices. Okay, so you have to understand the limitations. So overplaying it, like I had one person who called me and said, my only thing is I don't know how to get up. And I asked them, I said, what is it worth to you? Is your addiction, are your problems worth $1 million? Is it worth walking away from 100,000 this year? If you're telling me that your problems are worth that much, then understand that your problems are worth whatever you're risking. So if it's overplaying the game, when you do, or remember, soccer players sometimes, or hockey players, a single game may be won by 1 or 2 pucks. It's not about how many, and they're still making $1 million. Okay, so just because basketball, you may have a game where a team scores 150 points. Well, what's the difference between the hockey player that makes $1 million by scoring 1 puck and then the basketball player that makes $1 million by scoring 150? The hockey player goes back and forth and back and forth and back and forth just to make that 1 puck, and it's worth $1 million. Think about it, guys. Think about what we're doing. Stop overplaying it. You don't have to overplay it at all. Patience really is a virtue. All right, so let's go further. Playing more than you practice. Professionals are not made on the field, but they're made off the field when no one is looking. If you are practicing more than if you're playing more than you're practicing, imagine Tiger Woods. He gets his practice in during the tournament. That's when he practiced. He doesn't practice before it or after, but he practiced during the tournament. Imagine Michael Jordan practicing during the game. When the game's not, when there's no game, he's not practicing. Many people try to learn the game of roulette by practicing with real money. It's so senseless. And then you get discouraged because you don't know what you're doing. You're practicing incorrectly at that because you don't have the knowledge. So you could practice the wrong thing. Having a single play and you're practicing that single play over and over again when the game changes so much, that's not a way to practice. You need to, first of all, have knowledge, right? Before you start to even practice. All right. So having and knowledge means understanding the variables of the game and the consistency of it. One of the things that I'm doing with one of my students, I have them break down, say 15 spins at a time so that they can see, okay, this is the current state and behavior of the game. And understanding that the game works in behavior. It works in pattern. And you can, even when you lose, when you know the game works in these waves and patterns, you just adjust and you'll always find yourself at the winning side. But you have to practice this. You have to study it. And you have to do it more than you play because you haven't seen all the permutations that exist. Otherwise, you're just a gambler. You're just trying to figure out a better way to gamble. And that's not what we do here. This is the best way to convert money that I've ever seen. I've done businesses. I understand risk. I understand how money and time works. I understand that in business and in investment, the only reason you don't win in business and investment is because of the risk variables that you failed to calculate or time properly. Okay. And most investments and most businesses have variables that are uncalculable. It is what it is. And that's the reason why most fail. The reason why some businesses succeed is because they have the time and money to offset the inaccuracy of their calculation. One of the things that I used to do in corporate, we used to hire risk analysis, and I may have mentioned this on a few videos. Our risk analysis maybe make about, I don't know, 150,000 a year. And we had 12 in our office. We had an office of about 500 employees. Well, the reason we paid $1.5 million to risk analysis is because there were parts of our business that we could not calculate that was driving down the revenue. So we had to pay up $1.5 million just to save $4 million. But we had to have people working 24/7, but 8-9 hours a day, 12 people working that much to figure that out. Because in business, the variables are way, way, way out of your control. In roulette, it's limited. But what throws you off is the speed. That's what throws you off. And you're thinking that you have to make $1 million today. It's a business. You grow the business. There's nothing wrong with growth. Okay? Which brings me to this. No discipline or consistency. Okay, one brick at a time. If you want to build something, you build it one brick at a time. The next thing you know, you have a house. But trying to dominate the game, the way to beat the game is not by dominating it in a setting. The way to beat the game is to be able to use this as an apparatus for cash for the rest of your life. Okay? Because I can tell you this, whatever you decide to do, whether it's in business, stock investments, or even, well, we're not even going to say employment, because employment is just a way to escape maybe the responsibility of making an income for yourself, and you literally give your life in the hands of someone else who does make those calculations. But the risk is that they could let you go at any given time and you really have no recourse, and you have to start the whole cycle over again. In business, you don't, most times you can't calculate it. Even if you're successful, the time that it takes to stay successful, it may not be worth it. In investments, most stock investments, and I've done investment, I have a number of different day traders who are part of my program. They all will tell you that it's hard to calculate it. The people who generally fail do not want to sit and calculate. They are not consistent and or disciplined. Okay? And to the point of study, a lot of people want to play to win and not to understand. When you understand the game, you'll come back. At the end of the day, you're going to find that discipline and consistency are your biggest factors. Now, granted, you need knowledge. You need sound knowledge. You need to know the high points, the high interest of the game. I often talk about 3 and under and 3 and over to my students. They know what that is. Only playing in the most consistent high areas, period. And then if you want to truly convince yourself that the game behaves that way, take 300 spins. Every 15 spins, look and see the type of dominance that the game is currently having. So if you lose, like I said, you jump on the game, you lose, the game is not chasing you, all right? It's going to change. It has to change. But the key to success in this game really evolves around discipline and consistency. Consistency. This is a business. This is a financial instrument. This is the overtone of gambling is to throw you off, guys. All right? They throw the lights, the booze and the women and everything else at you because they don't want you to see that if you just slowed up, this actually has the best, highest probability rate of success in money exchange that you'll ever come across. I have a few, not everybody gets this though, and trust me, not everybody gets this. I don't even think it's for everybody, but it doesn't change the variables. Not everybody has success in business. I could say the very same thing to people who have failure in business, and they'll argue me up and down as to why I'm wrong. But at the end of the day, it's all about calculating risk. Okay? So the discipline that I'm talking about is your ability to be patient, understand the game for what it is, that it is a game, know that all things will change in that game. Nothing ever stays the same. When you understand that, there's never really such thing as a losing period because it's going to change for you when you understand the high interest points of the game. It has to. And if you don't believe that, only thing you have to do is study it. Study intently. All right? And then be consistent. Do it every day. Build, 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 build. All right? All right, so guys, so listen, I just wanted to drop those things off because some of my students, the successful students, they are very, very good. The ones that are not so successful, a lot of these things play into factors like this. Becoming emotional when you play, not really studying the game, looking for the win, big chunks of wins. Like I always say, soccer and, hockey, you don't necessarily have to chuck up a bunch of scores to be a multi-million-dollar player. Think about the game. When you understand the variables of the game that causes the money that allows you to win, if you could consistently do that, you will understand you do not have to be Michael Jordan. You don't have to score 40 points a game. You literally are the referee in here. You can stop when you want to. You can play when you want to. It's all upon you. The game is very consistent. You only have to play when it's most advantageous for you. You do not have to play every spin because playing every spin is literally like being able to make a bet on a 50-50 lead that comes in every 45 seconds. In the real world and money, in the real money world, it costs way too much for that. In this world, it doesn't cost anything but what it costs, whatever the minimum is. But what throws you off is the speed. You need to get into the permutation of things so that way, because it's 50-50, you don't fall on the negative side of it. Okay? But it's a beautiful thing, guys. With your money, you're able to take your $5. There is no market cap here, right? So you could grow your business every day if you want it. The variables do not change. They don't change because someone's racist or fat, ugly, black, white, poor, indifferent, any of that. They're the very same variables that will always be the same in every part of the world. You just got to slow down, understand the game, practice more than you play. Look at what you're doing. Look at live games. Don't look at, am I winning? Look at, okay, what is the game doing? And how is it through my strategy that I'm able to overcome it? If you're using single play strategy, one of the best single play strategies that I have is the numbers game. All right. It's one of the best. And by the way, that website's going to be going down too. So if you want strategies, you need to trying to make your elections now. But one of the best single play strategies I have is the numbers game because it kind of encompasses all layers of permutations to a degree. But even then, even that still requires discipline and consistency. It just requires a little bit more money because there's progressions. And here's what I'll say about progressions, and I'm done. Progressions are only a means to save time. That's all it is. Okay? So if you're going to use progressions, you're doing nothing but saving time. But the more time you save, the more money you need to have in order to save it. Time equals money in this modern world. All right, guys, listen. All right, so I'm done, guys. 7 things that will destroy roulette players. It's really all on you. Have a complete understanding of the game. Stop playing with emotions. Stop playing with emotions. What's the next one? There we go. Overplaying the game. Please don't do that. I mean, especially when you won. God, like some people are winning 300-400%. 200%. I never will forget one of my students. He comes to me. He says, I've been playing this for 2 hours, and, it's been going back and forth, and I've only managed to make a couple units out of it. I said, so you made 2 units? He said, yeah. That was a bad day for you? Yeah. I said, let me tell you about a company. Matter of fact, I'm not even going to tell you about that. Find me any entrepreneur in the world, any investor in the world that can show me 100% every day without a financial cap, and see if they're complaining. See, you got to get out of this gambling mentality, people. You've got such an amazing opportunity, but you're going to destroy yourself. And that's just something I can't help. I can't help those parts. I can certainly teach you things, but I can't help those parts of the game where you become reckless unto yourself. It's a reason why you are where you are in your life. It's a reason for that. Believe that. It's a reason for that. You have to analyze those things, okay? All right, guys. Practice more you play, and by all means, have discipline and stay consistent. Listen, guys, thank you guys so much for your time. I have more videos. As I said before, the mentorship is going to be ending soon. We're going to be moving on to something else. It's not nowhere near the mentorship thing, but I've got to get off the mentorship thing. I love you guys, but it is difficult teaching many of you, and unfortunately, I have quite a few bad apples, and I just can't keep that up. All right, guys. But if you just feel like you're not that person, you're the diligent person, and all of those good things, there are a community of people here who are doing well, who are willing to assist you. But your own battles and your own demons, we do not and cannot have control over. It comes out, though. I'm going to tell you, when you learn this game, it will come out and meet you face to face. It will come out and meet you face to face. And if it doesn't, I will personally sit down with you and show it to you, as I have a few other students. All right. So anyway, guys, take advantage of these things. Use those 7 things to your advantage, and just be great. If you have any questions for me, permutationspro@gmail.com. You can email me, or you can call me. If you go to permutationspro.com, the 800 number that's listed at the top, you can call me there. All right, if you have any questions or want to be a part of anything, but just remember these things that I'm talking about. And I did this video mostly for the students, but certainly for the market in general, whether you're part of mentorship or if you have a strategy or plan of your own or whatever the case may be. All right, guys, till the next time, take care of yourself.